is from Christian Maus, who has a follow-up from his previous week's question. He says, a follow-up to my last question. How would you explain the change of the Moabite woman in Numbers 25 to Midianite, if not the P author? Weren't the Midianites Moses' kin and originally Yahweh worshippers? Ooh, okay. You've kind of fallen into a reading trap. So, I want to kind of help you get out of that reading trap. And the trap you've kind of fallen into is, and this happens to a lot of people who become enamored with the documentary hypothesis, which is you start reading the Bible through the lens of redaction. Once you start reading it through the lens of redaction, you're going to miss the obvious. Okay? You're going to miss the obvious that's just out there in the text. So the question is then, why do we see a kind of a switch between, say, Moabite women and Midianite women in Numbers 25? The reason is actually Numbers 22. Let's bring up Numbers 22. Okay, there's my Bible. Numbers 22. Okay. And we'll start at the beginning here. Then the sons of Israel journeyed and camped in the plains of Moab beyond the Jordan opposite Jericho. Now Balak, son of Zippor, saw all that Israel had done to the Amorites. So Moab was in great fear because of the people, for they were numerous, and Moab was in dread of the sons of Israel. And Moab said to the elders of Midian, now this horde will lick up all that is around us, as the ox licks up the grass of the field. And the Balak son of Zippor was king of Moab at the time. So it goes on here, and so they start to conspire. There's this conspiracy that's happening between the chiefs of the Midianites and the Moabites. Verse 7, so the elders of Moab and the elders of Midian departed with the feast for divination in their hand, and they came to Balaam and repeated Balak's words to him. Okay? So, this is where you've gone kind of off the rails with the redaction criticism. Is that you're sort of now looking at the text through a redaction lens instead of in its context, in its narratival context. And this happens a lot. This happens to a lot of people who sort of drink the documentary hypothesis Kool-Aid. So you're not alone here. But it is an occupational hazard of the documentary hypothesis, is you start reading things through that lens instead of through the contextual lens of the passage itself. Okay? So then, weren't Midianite Moses' kin? And just to answer your summary follow-up question here. So that explains the change in Numbers 25, which is it's not a change. The Midians and the Moabites were basically in cahoots with each other. They were allies. So they were both employing the same strategy against the Israelites. So then when you get to say, you ask the question, weren't the Midianites Moses' kin and originally Yahweh worshippers? Well, we don't know if they were Yahweh worshippers. They might have been. They might not have been. Okay? That's possible. Some of them were. Okay? Some of them were. But what we also have to realize, too, is in Numbers 12, when Moses is actually not directly kin. He's kin through marriage. And that marriage is to Zipporah. And she's probably dead at this point. Moses remarries in basically Numbers 12. This is where we get the whole Cushite incident, where Moses marries a Cushite instead of another Midianite. So he's those bonds are no longer there. Those marital bonds aren't there anymore. So you really have to take these passages in their context. Context, context, context. Context is everything. And if you read the context, it's local textual context, it's passage context, it's broader narrative context, and it's historical context. That's when you start getting a true and accurate reading of the text. And unfortunately, the documentary hypothesis is going to lead you down a yellow brick road that's not going to end up in the place where you want to go.